Hey everyone. Hey David, how are you? Welcome, welcome. Was feeling inspired today to go live, and I really think it's just because right now Lilith is in Taurus, and Lilith is with all of that intense Mars, Uranus in Taurus energy. And I'm just feeling like I need to share more on this deity, this goddess, because I feel like it's just still a mystery for a lot of people. So I definitely am on to talk more about Lilith, to chat chat with all of you about your Lilith placement. If you want to drop it in the chat like David did, please do. So I'm gonna wait a little bit for some more people to come on. I don't know, I'm just like impromptuing live sometimes now. And the reason why I haven't been for some time is actually because I moved and I have not had internet for the past couple weeks. So that is a big reason you can't stream as well without that. So in fact, you can't stream at all without that. So I also took it as a time to reflect, because I think that obviously meditation is a regular practice of mine, but taking time away from kind of being in the trenches of what you do every single day can give you just a fresh perspective. And I definitely feel like I have, especially the past couple of months have been there's a lot of events coming up. Just for me personally, and I'm sure all of you have had a lot going on in your own life. And so it's just things seem just like one thing after another, especially with Mars moving into Taurus. So Mars moving to Taurus on the 6th. We all know it happened on the 6th. And really seeing that was one perspective that I really, that seeing that whole thing play out on the 6th really I just understood that perspective of just feeling so entitled, and then also feeling, and I'm not saying I understand that perspective, just saying that I sympathize with it, but I understand when it's like you essentially your beliefs. So we have the South Node in Sagittarius right now. Your beliefs are getting challenged. So if you're a white supremacist and someone like that got elected, and there are people, the House and the like all of society seems to now be in a different direction than the one that you were used to, it can create trauma. So you want to go out and you want to, do things like that. And, that's basically what we were seeing. So that really just inspired me I need to speak more from the divine feminine perspective. I know for me personally, my practice is for people who identify themselves as women. And for so long, even if you say have more masculine energy in your chart, which, fun fact, even though I'm a Cancer rising and I'm a Scorpio sun, I'm a majority masculine energy, which is fire and air. Water and earth are what we call feminine energies, and it's not gender. It's the way that those energies operate. Fire emits heat and moves forward. Water is emotion. So even if you do have majority masculine planets, or you're balanced, or you have majority feminine, all in all, in general, the the feminine has just been repressed in all of us. The feminine has been repressed in not only people who identify as women, but everyone. Everything feminine has just been completely repressed. And that includes our emotions, that includes nurturing. You know, I mean, the way that I run my business is people first. So if I work with anyone, I'm not like, you know, burning someone into the ground and overworking them. But in a capitalist society, which is that it can be very masculine, that methodology and that way of working is completely stuffed down. And you can kind of see it in the hustle and grind culture that we have today. But all in all, for eons, the divine feminine has been repressed. So, and seeing that, it was just, when you see a personification of just wounded masculine, where they have been repressed, and so they're reacting based on that, or they think they are being repressed, or it's in their own way. It just really, it inspired me I need to speak more about those issues of repression in terms of our emotions and in terms of our just our ability to nurture and not only ability to nurture other people, but ourselves. Because another thing too that has been repressed with, say, like hustle grind capitalist culture, is that if you want to take rest or take a break, or I've like cried at work, I've gotten emotional at work, that is frowned upon. So when you just think back to so many things in history from day one, so this is like from day one that the feminine has been repressed. So that's really what that's who Lilith is. When you really think about her, and when you think about the truth behind this position, that's literally the truth behind her, and this position in the birth chart. That is really where that energy can play out in your life. Another thing too, while I was taking a break, yes, I seeing white supremacy on full display was definitely inspired certain things in my work that I want to lean more into. But I recently read an article. I get Google alerts, and basically they called Lilith your inner bitch. Like they call the Lilith placement your inner bitch. I didn't write it. I don't know the journalist, but I don't want that. That's not the case, and I don't think that that's. This is my truth. I don't think that that's helpful to helping and empowering women, because that's like saying Pluto's just where you can experience death and destruction, and that's it, and that's your downfall. Like, we don't talk about Pluto like that, because A, it's Pluto will get you, and B, and Pluto's also a masculine character, a masculine archetype. So if a man acts a certain kind of way, they're labeled as, oh, this is like the transformational strong giant. And then if a woman exudes similar energy, especially the dark feminine, you're seen as a bitch. So that's another thing that I saw. And, I'm not going to mention, you can probably Google it and you can find out. I'm not going to mention the publication. Like, that's not necessary. It's just not the first time that I've seen interpretations of the placement. So I'm like, no. No. I need to start speaking up about who Lilith actually is, and actually spreading helpful information, because all of you have Lilith within you somewhere in your chart. It's more prominent in other people. Like me, I'm a first house Lilith. It's more prominent and with my moon. So, and the moon rules my chart. So forget about it. Like, that's me. So it shows up more prominently for some people, and then not as much, but it's still there, and it can be more in the subconscious mind, or it's someone at home. Maybe it was a figure, someone in your home. And I'm also going to talk about men and Lilith, because I mentioned it on a podcast I recorded a couple weeks ago. I was like, I need to like say that on my own channel, like talking about the archetype in a man's chart, because I have my way of interpreting it, and I have both male, female, I have all genders of clients actually who come to me, and I will read for men and they're like, that's it, spot on. So in terms of my interpretation of Lilith, like, yes, I've read the mythology. I'm a mythology geek. I love all the ancient, give me all the ancient mythology like that you can, because obviously that helps me that much more with what I do. But Lilith is just, I've read that. And so, and I've read any of the few resources that you can find on interpretation. And I think it does have some cannot speak, validity. But I have it first person because that is me. That is my energy. And then I also integrate the learnings from my clients. So I also use my intuition. I'm clairsentient and clairaudient. I can see stuff. So I pair what I can see with the astrological knowledge, and I tailor it to the person. That's really how I work with a lot of my interpretations, honestly. But, astrology, you can learn it from a book. You can memorize the placements if you want, and they're all valid. But I also integrate more than just that into my practice, and especially into my interpretation of Lilith. So I'm definitely going to go into it more during this little chat. But let's first dive into the truth. So, reading that article and the plethora of other things that are said about this placement, that let's just go into the shadow side. Or why don't we? I'm a Scorpio. Let's just go into that shit first. So your inner bitch, it's the shadow side. She's a demon. That's like your divan feminine in your chart. Yes, that's all the shadow side. That's all the demonization of women, straight up. So let's go back to the story. It's literally the first man and woman. This is this first story of humanity. And essentially, instead of the divine masculine balancing with the divine feminine, it's just, we need to take the power away. So that's the initial story. So basically, Adam and Lilith, and definitely check out my Lilith Through the Signs video. I'm going to link it below once the live is over, so you can go watch that. And I go way more in depth. I'm not going to go as in depth into the mythology here. This is really about the tea behind the placement. But Adam and Lilith were the first in the Bible. And, when you think about the first man and woman, I don't know, a lot of history points to them being people of color. I don't know. It essentially makes sense with the science. Genetically, it's the dominant gene. So the first people, and because of evolution, the first people were brown. So that's what's up. You can kind of take that as you want, but essentially they were born from the dust, and they were created equally. And immediately the masculine tried to take the power away from the feminine. She stood up for herself, but then she was demonized for it throughout history. Even today, when we have articles like your inner bitch, things like that, essentially that energy, a woman who is in her femininity, but also understands the value of things being balanced with the counterpart or the energies. And this goes and feeds into unity consciousness, and us being all one, and us being all equal, and us being, we're all one and the same. I am you are me. But that was stripped away. So she's someone who believes in that. That's something I believe in, but that's who she is. Anyone who is no, I'm not doing that because I'm not less than you. We're equal, buddy. anyone who's like that believes in unity consciousness. So she's someone who believed in that, but she was demonized throughout history and her archetype was because of that fact. She was not submissive. She like spoke her mind and said what she believed. So that's really what this energy is. And you can, wherever you have it in your chart, you can experience those things happening to you in that area of your life. And so I'll use myself in as example. In my first house, I'm a Black woman. Like Lilith didn't just come out, like, woohoo, I'm equal. Everybody's not suppressing me. Like, this is this is us. This is this is the truth. She was suppressed. We are suppressed. So straight up, I just come out of the gate looking like this. So in your first house, when you show up in a room, I may be not even thinking about that I'm Black, but a bunch of other people in the room are like, oh, Black person or Black girl, Black woman. And and she's also the dark feminine. It's this shadow. She's the Black moon, because the moon's the divine feminine mother, and Lilith, the Black moon, is the shadow. You can't. The point that I use, the point in space. There's no planet there. It's a shadow. And so another thing too is in your first house, you have to deal with it just up front. So you're always dealing with Lilith type scenarios, which I, as a Black woman, like I had to lean in at work all the time when I worked in corporate. Like anywhere I've gone, I have to take that extra step to prove myself. Even when I first started in astrology, I had to take extra steps to prove myself. And some people dismissed me even. And I was like, oh, this is my archetype playing out right now. Okay. Like, fuck you. Like, I'll keep going, do my thing. That's what happens. So that's the truth about Lilith energy. She's not your inner bitch. Lilith is the suppressed, deeply, deeply, deeply suppressed dark feminine. And where you can see her in everyday life is in the Black women that you meet on the street. And they may not have, like me, have Lilith in their first house, but in general, the archetype can definitely be likened to our experience. I mean, it's insane. I was just watching a YouTube video, and essentially they were one of the people that was speaking. She's a Black YouTuber. She's speaking about this study, and I remember this study when I was in my early 20s, like back when like OkCupid was it, and like, online dating or whatever, like on actual websites, not on apps. But there's a study that came out that said that it was like Black women were the least desirable out of like everyone in the online dating. I remember being like my early 20s, like dating, and I'm like, what the actual fuck? Like, and like me now having that higher consciousness, I'm like, fuck them. You're lost. Like, I'm great. I'm amazing. And you're just afraid of the shadow. You're afraid of the dark feminine. And that's not something that that's Lilith. So that energy is just constant in someone's life if they have it in their first house. If you have it on your midheaven, that's career. So you can, and you know who has that? Kamala Harris. Dorothy Dandridge, she was someone who had that, where she was literally in the shadow of someone like Marilyn Monroe for her whole career. And she was fantastic. She was this amazing, beautiful starlet. She was actually Cancer rising, she's Cancer rising, Scorpio sun. I think she was actually Leo moon too, like same big three as me, but she was in the shadow. She was not like, you see, Marilyn shit everywhere. Like I can't even go to like a dollar store without seeing a fucking lighter with Marilyn Monroe on. I even have like a flask that has Marilyn Monroe on it. She's like so licensed out, but you don't hear about Dorothy. You don't hear about Carmen Jones or any of like the amazing films she was in. You kind of do, but not really. But that's the shit. When you have that so prominent. But that's the shit that Black women have gone through. It's just, I can't even explain it any other way. It's just so obvious, right, guys? Like, I'm gonna look at your comments now. So David, Lilith in 16-degree Cancer. Oh, well, I'm a Cancer rising, first house, so that's why you like my videos. It's really interesting. I did a couple Hey Hero videos. So I am on Hey Hero. If you check out the link below, I answer questions for $44, and I'm answering about people's Lilith placement, their career, manifestation, magic, all that stuff. So definitely check that on the link below. But two people, I did my recordings today, and they both were Cancer rising, Leo moon. I was like, I really would just love to pick some other astrologers' brains to know, like, just do you get like the people who have the similar placements as you all the time gravitate? But that's the pull, the energetic pull, because you vibrate. If you're vibrating on that level, you're going to manifest those same energies in your life. So I think it's really interesting to see. But yeah, you're Lilith in the first, so you can experience that firsthand in your life. Lilith in Virgo. So, oh, interesting. So this is a great question, David. So, and I was going to get to Lilith, the men in Lilith, but we might as well get into it now, and I'll get to the questions after that. But so what do you think about a 25-year-old man with Lilith in Cancer, first house? So if you're identifying cis man, okay, I don't know if you can tell me about if you feel comfortable in sharing your orientation, but this definitely helps my interpretation. But essentially, let's just say orientation aside, if you are straight, not straight, whatever, either way, for you, it's the woman that really can karmically press certain buttons for you. So Cancer energy can karmically press some buttons of transformation in you, and the triggers can stem from triggers that were programmed in you from the mother. So maybe it's women who have similar attributes that she had, and then you kind of gravitate towards it, but then there always ends up being just a karmic situation that happens and power struggles. So this person that you are initially attracted to, or if not attracted to women, it's just women that you deal with in everyday life. If they have that energy, Cancer energy can trigger it. I think Capricorn, that's the opposition. Capricorn energy can trigger it, and it can just trigger that power struggle for you in your life. So for a man, so this is my own, this is the original, this is completely my interpretation. It's what can make you Adam. It's what can bring the Adam out of you to want to like suppress. So that's the things, that's why I say power struggles, because it's like you want to control that facet of that person, because maybe it was something you wanted to change in the family dynamic when you were growing up. So well, that resonates with you. But that's a good segue to start off with men, but that's essentially the interpretation that I use for cis male identifying people, because Adam is just as much a part of the story. So it's like you have the matriarchy, and then you have the patriarchy, and then you have, it's still together in that dynamic. Even though Lilith is a placement, there's still there's that archetypal story still playing out. So it's like, what makes you the Adam? So understand it, and it's your shadow side. So that's the thing we have to remember, is Lilith is not your inner bitch, or, you know, I guess for a man, like you say, like inner asshole or whatever. Lilith is basically, or she brings out the inner asshole in you. That's not just it. That's your shadow side. It's not saying that everyone is a bad person too. That's just a part in your chart that you haven't explored because it's your shadow. And it's something, it's an unconscious behavior that is unseen. Pluto, you can say the same thing as well. Even though Pluto gets this rap for authenticity and kind of removing the fat from situations and seeing like what can go, what can stay, that's a shadow placement as well. It's a malefic. Saturn is a malefic as well too, but they aren't as demonized. Like Saturn was not nice. Saturn was like eating children and shit, like in the myth. Okay, like Pluto's the Lord of the underworld, and Saturn is also associated with the devil, like the devil card in Capricorn, the devil card in Tarot, and then Pluto is like fucking Hades. So, you know, they're not nice. But at the same time, they're the shadow aspect. And so it's the integration also of light and dark. I definitely talk about this a lot, is in how to integrate your shadow and integrate your light at the same time. Because that is just that just creates more empowerment for you in your life, rather than letting yourself succumb to certain shadows. Like with me being a Black woman, I could have succumbed to that shadow and been like, okay, well then I guess, you know, since the collective thinks I'm worthless, thinks I'm unequal, thinks I shouldn't share my voice, thinks I shouldn't have an opinion, thinks I'm less than, you know, a white man. Black women are paid literally significantly less than everyone. But they are the fastest growing educated population in the United States. I actually think they're the most educated. Let's taking Black men out of the equation. Black women, we are paid less. So if I listened to all of that and didn't integrate that shadow that was just following me around, of having all of that programming and people treat me that way, and having that unconscious behavior and reaction to it, I would never be here. I would be like, oh, someone said this about me. Like, oh God, I can't go on, you know, this live. Like, no, that's when you integrate your shadow, because when you integrate those things and you push past them, that is where you see your reality shift. So Lilith is also a huge shadow work placement. Paired with Pluto, paired with Saturn, you can do some major shadow work in your life. It's how I talk about Pluto is Pluto can be your own personal hell in your birth chart if you allow it. Wherever you have Pluto, AKA the Lord of the underworld, like the god of hell, or the you know, he's the leader of hell. He will come and create hell if you allow him to. But you can take that dark energy and transmute it and use it for something good. I use what has my life and the things that have happened to me and where I have my Pluto to help all of you. My goal with Lilith Astrology and with understanding the Lilith placement further is to help women ascend. And my clients are not just Black. I have all kinds of clients, literally all genders, white, Black, South Asian, Korean, Chinese, everyone. So, and they're all learning from my experience. So just because Lilith is this dark goddess does not mean that it's not within everyone, and everyone can learn something from a different perspective. So it's my goal to teach everyone, like every single woman on the planet, to how to be empowered through their shadow. Dance with your shadow, learn to love your shadow. That's really what it is. And when you can dance with it and learn to love it and kind of sit in the discomfort with it, that's when it can become integrated into you. Let's get more comments. Yeah. The repressed feminine. Straight up, that's the story. It's nuts, because just like Black women, like I talk about Dorothy Dandridge and just certain prominent Lilith people who are Black, they are extremely talented, or their presence or their story is so unique. Hidden Figures is another one. Their presence is so unique, but they are just suppressed. So they can never, they're not known. Let's talk to even Lilith. It's like, it was like wiped from the pages of the Bible. Like it's in the ancient texts, but like in terms of like, you know, the new King James, like all that shit, like you ain't going. I once had a friend who's Christian be like, I talked about Lilith Astrology. She was like, oh, like that's not a real story. That doesn't exist. I'm like, Because it's not in your white Bible, honey. That's it. So of course she was erased. But there's still, you know, we still talk about her still today. So that's the energy, just that's the shadow, you know. Lilith and Taurus in the 8th house. I love it. Yes. I love that. And it's like empowerment and money. Once you dance with that type of shadow, empowerment and money, empowerment in material wealth, and being able to manifest that, being able to financially be free and stable, that really, and also, you know, you're into witchy stuff too, the 8th house. You maybe make money doing that stuff. You guys know nothing about Lilith in the first. Oh, who especially as a man. I mean, so kind of like this is an old comment. This is probably before I said what I said, but you know, you can know about it, but not firsthand. If you don't have it in your first house, that's for sure. And I'm not going to know about it as a man personally because I'm not one. So, but I know, I mean, I just kind of told you about it, but I can put myself in your shoes. And I just know when you think about the story of Adam, so you can just think about that, and you can think about the power dynamic, the power struggle, you can be prompted to want to repress and control. Preaching. I love to preach. There's not enough publication on Lilith for men. Yeah, that's a good tip. You know, I definitely can do I can do a deeper dive, a deeper video on Lilith for men than I just did. I can do it through the signs. So I'll keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. I would assume it's your karma. So actually this is a great question, because the one thing that with karma, so I read karma like a book in people's charts. Karma is, everyone has it. Karma isn't you do something bad happens to you, what goes around comes around. Those are all like phrases people made up. In Buddhism, so I've studied that religion I'm not a pro in it at all, I'm going to say that, but like for a couple of years I heavily went to a Buddhist center to truly learn how to meditate and up my game in that practice, and also learned about their religion. And you know, karma is a part of it, and it's everyone has it. It's essentially it's you know, we see this, the infinity symbol for something like that, and it's imprints on your soul. And everyone has their own imprint. So it's things that you want to fulfill in this lifetime. It's things that you are meant to do here, and the vibration you're meant to bring. And it's also things that you're supposed to alchemically transform. So that's actually one of the things I teach is spiritual alchemy. So learning how to transform and shift dark to light. That's all spiritual alchemy is. And everyone has a shadow side. Like we can't walk around, like even the quote unquote nicest person in the world has a shadow side. So everyone has their own karma, you know, like my karma is, you know, walking around and being who I am. Someone else's might be health, or someone else's might be, you know, activism, or everyone's bringing their own vibration. So it's basically it's becoming of the world with that vibration, and then moving to live in alignment, because you're also going to spend your life trying to bounce yourself over to alignment and to your karmic path. That's why we have the north and south nodes in astrology, and they're your karmic life path, because they're in opposite signs. So it's integration. So it's integration of past karma and integrating it into this lifetime, so that you can then vibrate based on, and it's all an illusion anyway. Karma. At the end of the day, karma is the Maya. It's an illusion, because we only, it's all here. And that's one of the important things to realize in this lifetime, is that's why the mind is just so important, because you can trap yourself in the illusion of having certain karmas and not and be in your own form of mental slavery. So that's why the mind is so important as well. And that's why I said, like, a lot of it is an illusion, but it's helpful to know what your unconscious vibrations are. And that's what the birth chart does, is it shows you, like, oh, this is my for me, I have my south node in freaking Libra with Mars. Like, I can just care too much about the other, be codependent, not stand on my own and put myself first and put my needs first, especially in work. And I've done that in the past, but I had to get out of that comfort zone, but I still integrated the things that Libra energy, I still integrated into my life. But then I work alone. It's Aries. Like, I don't work with other people. I mean, anyone I do works for me. So that's really what karma is it's the integration of the past and bringing darkness to light. And everyone has that. It's not like, oh, I stole something today. I have bad karma. Like, that's not really how it works. Yeah, everyone came from Africa. Like, it's literal, like, it's literally scientific fact. And then it's also scientific fact in terms of genetics. Like, it's literally, that's what it is. So take that for how you want to take it. Yeah. Yeah, the first people were brown. So that's exciting. I have to check that out. Awesome. It's also in the Smithsonian DC Museum. I mean, I'm literally not making this up. Like, like it's just so funny because I feel like when other YouTubers have said, spiritual YouTubers have said the same thing, they're just, the backlash is real, and it's like, but it's literally facts. Like, it's literally facts. Was Eve submissive? So I think, so in terms of that archetype, no, Lilith is, Eve is just as much of a victim of patriarchy as Lilith. We're like, what else was she gonna do? Want to go do the same shit and get chastised? But then they demonize Eve still, excuse me, by saying it was her fault why they got cast out of Eden. So, like, both of, like, Eve was more well known because I guess she kept, she's kept, kept together for some time, but then they're like, oh, these women are at it again. We gotta, chastise them, and then use this story to basically just suppress them forever. Excuse me. I'm like, I did a few videos today, so I'm like, my voice is a little shaky. So in terms of signs, so excuse me. So whenever I talk about sign energies, I'm going to talk about the purest essence of the sign. But it's like I guess it's like my astrologer pet peeve when people are like, Scorpios are this and Geminis are this and Aries is this. Like, it's fun, but it's the whole chart. There's a whole person. Like, I know the most intense Geminis because they have an intense Scorpio placement. I know the most intense Libras, or I know Scorpios that are like not like kind of, but like not really. It depends on the whole chart. And so I'm going to answer your question in terms of pure essence form. Virgo is the virgin. Virgo is the maiden, divine feminine placement, mutable earth, changeable, not fixed. Dominant is fixed. Dominant is more Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius. Yeah, they'll dominate your ass. But Virgo, not so much. But it depends on the chart. Because I've known Virgos that will tell you what's what. but that's not the energy. And actually Virgo, it's like the Vestal Virgins of Rome. It's not, I wouldn't really liken Virgo to Eve, really. But I wouldn't say Eve was submissive. I don't want to use those terms for them because they're victims of the patriarchy. The patriarchy is the dominating ones. They're victims of the patriarchy. It's not like Eve came along like, oh, I'm going to be better than Lilith. Maybe, I don't know. I didn't read that in the text that I've read, and I wasn't there, but we're all victims of the patriarchy. That's why even with feminism, I'm an intersectional feminist, but even with feminism, sometimes it can get non-inclusive. Like some feminists want to like chastise some women because they want to stay at home and raise children and, you know, have their husband pay for everything. And some feminists don't stick up for Black and Indigenous and POC female rights, and they just care about their own shit. It's that we can't be divisive and labeling women as anything. We're all victims of the patriarchy suppressing us one way or another. So unity amongst these two different types of women is key, I think. And also women are not a monolith. Like it's not like you're either like the good one or the bad one, because that's also creating more stories. They're victims of the patriarchy. I mean, I think so. I remember like I went to like Catholic, you know, religion, Catholic or whatever, for a little bit until I like was like, I don't do this anymore, for a little bit. And I know the story. And I just kind of was like, even back then I was like scratching my head, like, what is this? Like, what is this shit? Like, what is this patriarchal shit? Even back then, like I've always, because it's really interesting. So even just myself personally, I, not only with being first house Lilith, it's like, it's in my family. Like the women were always, it was very much matriarchal family. So I just grew up with women who like don't take shit, and they speak their mind, and if they want to go and do something, they don't let people stop them, even though they may be facing like, you're not this, you're not that, da da da. They still go do it anyway. Every woman in my family. So I just grew up, I guess it's just like ingrained into me, like to question stories like this. And Lilith, like when I read the story, I'm like, oh Lord, we are not gonna. And then like I'm like, we're not gonna do this. And then like, we're not gonna. She does not need to be demonized. Like the patriarchy needs to understand their trauma as well. It's not just the feminine trauma, it's collective trauma for also being made to feel that they can't tap into that feminine and balance that feminine energy within themselves. We project how we feel on the inside. So that's why, I mean, I think it's a shadow placement for both sides. You're correct, Saturn. Yeah, Saturn's not nice. Saturn is a fucking psycho. JK, I feel bad calling Saturn a psycho because Saturn's gonna get me. I'm like, sorry. Well, so I guess I was right. Venus in Cancer. That's like right on that's triggering your stuff, David. That's triggering it for you. Okay, so you're straight. Okay, so interpret that as a straight cis male. Yeah, Saturn is the devil, straight up. You know, when you just even think of, and this is I'm gonna go into astronomy, okay? We're gonna go into astronomy because people, you know, I love how like all NASA and these like scientific journals were posting about the conjunction on December 21st, and I'm like, since when do you guys care that, you know, these planets are meeting, that Jupiter and Saturn are meeting in the sky, and it's like, since when? But like, that's great that you guys are, you know, posting about this, but it's actual astronomy Saturn being the devil. So let's think about the position of Saturn, and let's think about the position of Saturn's sign, both of them actually, Capricorn and Aquarius. So let's just think about that. And this is astronomy, okay? This is the positions of where the planets are, facts. This isn't like just interpretation. So Saturn in ancient astrology, before we had the modern planets like Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, Saturn was the end of the, and still is, but we go into the higher octave of consciousness after Saturn. Saturn's reality. Saturn is the end of the 3D realm. And who's at the end of who's there when you are leaving reality and going back into oblivion, into the unknown and things you can't see? The devil. So that's the last planet. That's where the outer planets start. That's the outer limits. So that's why Saturn was associated with a figure like the devil, because that's the end. That's the last planet, visible planet. You can't see past Saturn. And they discovered these other planets through modern technology, telescopes, space travel, things like that. That's how they were discovered. So that's it. That it's literally, it's talking about the archetype because it's the position of the planet. It's where it is astronomically. So let's think about the signs Capricorn and Aquarius. They are, when you look at how the sun or how the Earth moves in through the galaxy, around and around the sun with the other planets, the sun in the winter is in those signs, and the sun is not giving a lot of light to the northern hemisphere, and so things die in the winter. So we have death. That's why when we get into Scorpio season, trees start to die, plants start to die, things start to die. Before Scorpio, you have judgment. You have Libra, day of judgment, Libra, the scales. Then you're going into death. And then that's when you go into the underworld. And then we meet Saturn, the devil. So it's literally the ancients use these archetypes to describe the fucking science and the energies. So actually this is advice. Like, people always like, oh, what's a great astrology book to read? Like, study mythology. When you know these archetypes, you start to just see them. Like someone like TRUM. I won't say it because I don't want the election crap that goes. Maybe it might now that I just said that word too, but I hope it doesn't. But even him, he's the Gemini archetype, like straight up. He's the sun in his midheaven conjunct Uranus, and that rules his chart. He's a 29-degree Leo rising, but you can just see he's like the Gemini. He's like the court jester with his like multiple faces and just different personas and just stirring up the pot. And you can just see the archetype very easily. So you don't even need a chart to see how someone will be if you can understand, okay, what's the prominent sign? Like what's the rising? What's the prominent placement in the chart? What is that energy exuding off to the public? You could see it playing out right there. Yeah, so yeah, he ate his own kids. So so not fun. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That can be that's been my experience. Or it's not even like repulsed. It's just trying to dominate and overpower me. So basically, like, I can bring out the atom in certain people, and it's a lot of it's a sign, because we have to remember, I think of people as walking charts, and so basically, like, you can like see where someone's going to trigger you and what triggers you, like based on even your own chart. You can look and see like, ooh, the sun, that my Pluto's there, okay, like that might trigger some karmic shit, or my Lilith is there, this person's Capricorn, like, might trigger some shit there. So I'm not one to say like stay away from these signs. once in a while. It really depends on the client too, because I like to see if I can see some shit in your chart. Like I've called out signs and people are like, ooh, that's like, that was toxic. Yeah, that person. And I'm like, maybe I want to stay away from, that particular sign. But since I don't know your entire chart, I'm not going to say that. But, being wary of what signs could trigger certain things within you. But don't be afraid of your own power, because Lilith and Capricorn is someone who just that, because they had their power stripped away from them, especially when they were younger. So it creates a program where you consistently feel that every day. And so until you can break through that program, break out through that matrix that you built, and you're probably going through it and probably went through it the past year, because we've had all that shit happening in Capricorn. Now we're going to have tons of shit happening. It's like in your second house. So that's going to be self-worth stuff for you that you're probably having to integrate right now. So think of how you can start to reverse that, and also the things you tell yourself. So since I said like words are important, ways that I actually worked through this is to start to tell myself that people don't reject me. I am powerful. If anyone does, it's the symptom of their own shit. And start to stand in your power and start to stand in your truth. And you will start to see that a reality shift and alchemize. And also pay attention to what signs you date. I love how I just said, like, I don't tell people that. I'm like, I have to see your whole chart, but like still, there's certain signs that can bring up some things. So Pluto 4th, me too, honey. It's fun. But that's what has allowed me to do what I do and help people with their own shadow work, because it's a tough placement. Pluto in the 6th, yeah. Yeah, or you can bring about like just shifts, like, so say you start working somewhere and nothing has changed, nothing has happened. You start working there, and then like all of a sudden you're like causing all of these inadvertently, like you don't realize it. And someone who doesn't know astrology can be going through that. This is what I'm saying with bringing darkness to light. They probably have no clue, and they're just like, oh, like, I don't know why every time I work somewhere, like the company closes down, or like something changes dramatically in the structure of it, or I don't know, like what the fuck is going on. When you can see that, you're like, oh, like let me think of how I can rewind that narrative for myself and change that vibration that's just kind of naturally there. And then, like, even when I say that, because I hear, sometimes I'll hear arguments about like, actually there's a book that I've read it's called Reality Transurfing, and the author, you can get it on Amazon, and there's a lot of great tips on manifestation there. But I was like, the author did not believe they like basically were so entrenched in the law of attraction that they did not believe that things like astrology or tarot or seers, psychics, like had like that was just projection, and like that basically those things can't manifest. But the thing is with astrology, when you're unconscious, like that's why it's so important to know thyself and know astrology, because nothing is hidden. But basically astrology is a map of your vibration when you come in the world. And if you're unconscious to it, it will play out. Most people are not conscious of why certain things are playing out, or what things are in the shadows, or they're not seeing, and they just karmic loop. Most people are not. So yeah, the astrology is going to play out like that. When I look at mundane astrology, which is for the collective, it's for everyone. Like when I do my general reports, that usually is going to happen because most people are not operating conscious of their charts. Like a lot of people think astrology is still, sun signs, and they don't realize, like, no, like get a fucking reading. Like you need to know what's going on in your chart so that you're not walking around unconscious. And the thing is especially even with something like tarot, it gives you that opportunity to shift it. So when you're working with something like law of attraction, if you're working with manifestation, and then you're pairing that with knowing your own yourself, knowing yourself astrologically. You pair that with knowing transits that are coming up ahead or energies that are going to kind of fall into your lap. You can then start to navigate them. Like I know a lot in my own life before it's going to happen. And so that allows me to prepare. And it allows me to be the master of my own reality. But that's what I mean when I say, when you're unconscious to certain things. So someone with Pluto in the 6th, I had a coworker, she wanted me to look at her chart, an old coworker, and I saw that. And then I was like, then the wheels, I didn't say, because I'm like, you can tell, like, that's one thing I do as an astrologer. I don't give information I don't think the person will understand, and something that is detrimental and not helpful. But in my mind, all the scenarios I've seen with this particular person, I'm like, there we go. But they won't know that. I mean, I did say, like, there may be power struggles in your workplace, and you unconsciously may be kind of stirring up some of it, but that's the extent of what I said. But that's a light bulb moment for that person to then kind of start to clock what's going on in their reality. So that's bringing shadow to light, and where they're kind of stirring their own pot. Thanks. I appreciate that. I mean, I have Chiron in Gemini in the 12th. So just in general, in life, speaking my truth honestly, it's not been an issue for me in the past, like, few years. But before that, it was a lot of self-discovery and understanding that about myself, and working through that discomfort, and doing public speaking and speaking my truth, even speak your truth even if your voice shakes. Like, yeah, all of that. And I just had to keep doing it. And now someone something to say, I literally don't give like 2 fucks. Like, that's literally like, and it's literally you're projecting your own shit. Go work on your shit. Go work on what you want to work on. Go work on your own craft. Perfect your own life before you go on anyone else. That's really what it is. But that's challenging to do. And I've not always been in that place. You always take it as your own. You take it on your own. You take it into yourself. So a lot of you who have Lilith placements prominent, that's definitely a learning lesson. That's a lesson from me. So it's a love lesson. I mean, it can be too. But it's definitely a lesson it's not comfortable at all. Like, do you think it was easy for Lilith to be like, no, like she was new on Earth, like, and the man is, that's the counterpart. That's the only one there. You're like, oh, I gotta just like put my big girl panties on and get the fuck out. And that's not easy to do. So, yeah. That's the whole point of, yes, absolutely. That is the whole point of Scorpio energy. And this is like people with Pluto in the 1st. I know a lot of the Scorpio millennials who have Scorpio rising millennials have Pluto in the home sign in the 1st. And you are just a walking catalyst for change for things. And you may be in a room and like trigger a bunch of shit. And you're just standing in the middle of like, how the fuck did this happen? But that's that energy. But yes, transmuting that dark energy. So this is even for Black women specifically who are in this chat, is starting to look at the stories, look at the treatment that you receive, and start to just observe it, start to look at it. Because like one thing that really helped me is not getting my emotion out of it. Like I highly despise racism and prejudice and all those things. But when I've experienced certain things or microaggressions, so that's what I would say is like most of my experience, like recently, like it's not like I have people running after me, screaming the N-word or anything. Proud Boys. We don't know yet though, because they're apparently coming to every major city next week. So maybe that might happen. But generally, it's a lot of microaggressions and suppression in that respect. And so whenever I've had that happen, I observe it. Or even if it's nothing to do with if it's not a microaggression, if it's just kind of what you were talking about with like jealousy, if it's just people projecting onto you, just observe it and then just look at it and just observe also how it makes you feel, but then start to separate yourself from that what's outside of you, because it has nothing to do with you at the end of the day. Like what happened on January 6th, the terrorist attack, essentially, that's them. Like that's we just saw what that is. And so that it's like not a reflection on anyone else. That's their own projection onto the world. So, and onto the United States. So starting to separate yourself from that and know that you're sovereign from that. That's not you. And I know it's hard to do, especially, one thing I think also is forgotten in especially the law of attraction community is the collective consciousness still has an impact on your reality. At the end of the day, like I've created my own bubble here, like this is like a peaceful sanctuary, all that stuff. But when I go out into the world, I can't control what some motherfucker on the corner says or does. There's so many times I've been harassed, like street harassment happens all the time to me in New York when I'm just like trying to buy groceries, or feeling unsafe, I was chased this summer, almost straight up attacked, and I've just had been grabbed and had my arm grabbed in broad daylight and things like that. And so when things like that happen, if I wasn't in the position that I'm in mentally right now, I would bring it on myself and internalize that. So then it lowers my vibration and represses me. But I worked through, what had happened and released that. I also carry pepper spray. But that's another thing. I've spoken about it, but just the violence against women. And that's something definitely I'm going to start speaking a lot more about. And this is misogyny now. I'm talking about across all races. Men of my own race are not exempt at all. The complete disregard for the divine feminine's lives. Like there's just so much violence against women. Every friend I know that lives in New York City, white, black, every race has had something happen to them when they're just trying to walk home from the train or, go get groceries or even just going out with their friends. Like there's just always something that happens. And it can go as far as sexual assault to just straight grabbing. And that's just the surface level of the violence. But that's stemming back. We're gonna rewind it back to the story of the first humans, where it's just the repression just started right away, and that's violence. When you are doing something that represses someone else's free will, and that's straight up, that's violence. It goes completely against the law of the universe. And we see that time and time again in society, especially when it comes to women. Yes, they did. Yeah. Wow. I'm like, it's like my manifestation of, because I'm like, I bet there's going to be some people in the chat who'd be like, that's not true. Because I've seen that happen to other YouTubers or content creators. But I'm like, I don't know. I love all my followers, even followers who say shit. I still love you because it's like you took the time out to write on my video. So guess I'm having an impact on your day, whether good or bad, Yeah. Right. Oh, okay, you guys have to go to my Instagram after this. I did a live with her name's Laura Chung. She's a friend of mine, but she's also a spiritual teacher, Reiki master, also based in New York. But we did a whole chat about the shit that's going on in the spiritual community with just it's just, we all know, I don't think I need to really like just go watch the video. Go watch it. But I don't know, like to me, like racism isn't part of unity consciousness. To me, racism is not part of 5D or ascension. And so it's a belief. It's not even just a belief. It's a system of government. So it's really interesting because racism is the literal interpretation. The meaning of the word racism is a system of government which is put into place to suppress a group of people. So that's what we live in, and how that's not high conscious thinking. It's just not. It goes against human rights. So it's not like, oh, like, you know, white supremacy, it's an ideal that should be accepted. It's like, okay, it's a belief, but it's not, it goes against the actual laws of the universe. Like it's not unity consciousness. You're literally believe that you're better than other people because of the color of your skin. It's like, and it's not true. Like it's like, I'm sorry, like, because it's just not. Like it's like, yes, it's a belief, but and yes, we can have some, you know, quantum debates about what is reality, but the reality situation is, so I go by the Hermetic principles. I go by laws of vibration and unity consciousness. Like we are all one. That is part of it. And last time I checked, that's racism doesn't fit under that umbrella for me. Yeah. Let's see. It's awful. Yeah, people do that. People completely. Well, I honor you. If you came to get a reading, I honor everyone who comes to get a reading from me. But a lot of practitioners don't honor people's experiences, and it's not even, I don't want to say honor, but they don't listen or empathize. Like for me, like my process is like I dig into your chart. We talk about the shadow. We talk about all these things, but I'm not going to sit there and be like, well, you brought it on yourself. Like it's your vibration. Like, no, we work through, we talk about, and we shift and alchemize based on the shadows that you have. And then we develop a way for you to start to flip a lot of those things that have happened to you and to heal. We don't act like what you went through didn't exist. Yeah, that's awful. I'm sorry to hear that happen to you. So the violence against the divine feminine, and that's something that I'm fervently against. Obviously, this is Lilith astrology, and you know, I definitely, it's just what is the fuckery that's gone on over the past few weeks. I'm like, you know, the dark feminine needs to speak more so that more of you who this resonates with can feel seen and heard and can have more information that can help you, essentially, because that's my goal, is to help all women. So honestly, help everybody, not just the ladies or identify as ladies, but honestly help shift the collective, like truly shift the collective, and help people with their traumas and just the things that they've gone through, and help them shift darkness into light, and honoring your experiences. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. I love getting on and chatting with you guys. I'm so happy I have internet now. So I actually am bringing back the Lilith update now that I have internet. I'm so excited. I got like the fastest internet you could get. I'm like, I can't wait. I'm gonna put on my, my helmet and just be like, let's go, speed. So Monday, that's it's at 8 p.m. So if you're not subscribed, if you watch this video later, you happen to stumble upon it, you're not subscribed, definitely do that and click the bell when you subscribe. If you are subscribed and you don't have that bell clicked, click it, because I plan to go live impromptu and not really announcing it when I do it. So you guys can get alerts when I do that. And also, I also run on, I have Ray, my assistant, and then there's me, and then I also work with various creators to make all of this possible for you guys. So if you feel in your heart to donate, no pressure. If you can't, because I know times is crazy right now, but my link is below, lilithastrology.com/donate, and you can check that out there if you feel that in your heart. But yeah, that's really all I wanted to say. And I'll definitely think about a Lilith man video, because I think it's needed. I've had some male clients, so I'm always like, oh wow, okay. Well, I love that you guys come and show up for the, and understand that divine feminine side of yourself, because it's in all of us, and that's what we forget. And to nurturing that divine feminine energy within ourselves can help us all heal so much. So, all right, guys, definitely check out all the links below. Click the bell, hit like. It definitely just helps the channel. It helps my video get in front of other people so more people can see it, and we can help more people step into their own power. And I will see you on the next video, you guys. Bye.